when you have pressure, when something is not going right with your finances, it's not going right in your relationships, yes, you might be depressed, and yes, you might be anxious. Don't freak out. It's because of the situation. And once you're able to process the situation, there is a likelihood that those symptoms will go. As a counselor, I've had to work with people who go through anxiety and depression. And sometimes they think, oh, maybe something is wrong with me. It's a chemical imbalance. And I tell them, well, let's look at your situation right now first. And then when we look at the situation, I'm like, yeah, this situation, it's okay to be depressed because this situation is bad. And you can't go around it. You just have to hold on and know that depression and anxiety is a normal response for what you're going through right now, but it doesn't have to be something that you stay with for the rest of your life. But don't panic. When something hits you hard, if you get depressed, that's probably normal. If you don't get depressed, we should be worried. Maybe you lose a loved one. Yes, you're going to grieve. Yes, you're going to cry. Yes, it's going to be hard for you to get over it. And when people look at you weird, it's because they don't understand the process. I was working with a client who they had lost a loved one, and the son was dealing with it just in his own way as a child because he couldn't really express himself. And so one of the things that he was doing was, I think he was having accidents in the bathroom, or maybe he would sleep and just pee on himself, and he wasn't doing that before. At this point, maybe he was like 7, and she thought it was connected to the death in the family. So she was concerned. She's like, I have to take my child to therapy. Maybe there's a disorder. I said, okay, let me talk to your child. And I had a few sessions with the child, and what we did during the sessions was really just talking about the loss, gave him an ability to share, taught him how to process his thoughts, and those things stopped. So when you have pressure, when something is not going right with your finances, it's not going right in your relationships, yes, you might be depressed, and yes, you might be anxious. Don't freak out. It's because of the situation. And once you're able to process the situation, there is a likelihood that those symptoms will go, and then you'll be able to feel better. So don't always run away from emotional distress. I want to talk to parents for a little bit and leaders. There are times we don't want our children to go through anything challenging, especially when we're like, I don't want them to go through the hardships that I went through. Some of those hardships are actually what brought you to be where you are today. It's because you went through hardships, you grilled those muscles, and those muscles are now helping you in the future. If we don't let our kids grow those muscles, I don't know what kind of children we're trying to raise, what kind of generation we're trying to raise. We have to be careful that we don't raise a generation that cannot withstand anything. So parents, be careful about rescuing. You're always there to rescue. They fall, you're rescuing. Sometimes let them fall and then get up themselves. They have to learn to get up. They have to learn the process. Maybe you show them 1 or 2 things. This is what you do when you fall. This is how you take care of yourself. So we have to be careful about being the rescuer from discomfort. Discomfort may not be terrible, and that's the thing about the soft life. The soft life is, I don't want any discomfort. I want it to be all relaxation, ease. But we know real life, we can't always have ease. And discomfort doesn't always ask for permission before it comes. Now, if we raise children who don't live in the reality of life, that life will throw you curveballs, then we would have done a disservice. How many of you had a strict parent? I'm going to raise my hand. I had a strict parent, and it was not easy growing up under a strict parent. But I would also agree and admit that I learned a lot. There are things that I did not understand as a teenager, as a child, Some of the boundaries that my parents put around me that I saw as strict, some of them I even thought like, this is inhumane. You shouldn't do this to anybody. Fast forward now, I have better understanding about those things because I am a mom now too. I see what those boundaries meant. Now I know that some people are like, I had a strict parent. They were not just strict, they were evil. Like what they did to me was a trauma response. They were trying to figure out their own trauma and then they put me under trauma. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about parents who practice domestic violence just because they themselves are broken. No, I'm talking about a parent who is genuinely saying no to things and putting boundaries around how we live because they love us and because they know what we don't know. So parents, be careful. When you let your kids have everything they want, you might be destroying them, or you might be reducing their capacity to take what life is going to throw at them someday. Because if they don't have it, if they don't learn it now, they're not going to have it. There's no, where will they learn it? By the time they're older and they're trying to learn, it's going to be harder. And this is also a call to leaders. There are some leaders that micromanage, they want to be on top of you as you do everything. And sometimes some leaders don't even trust their followers' judgment. They don't trust that the follower can bring something good out. They just like, okay, do it this way, do it that way. An employee makes a mistake, then you just want to jump in, give the assignment to somebody else, tell them that they can't do it. You're not building them up that way. First, let your environment be that where everybody knows we can make mistakes, because in making mistakes is where we can grow and we can learn. We have to be a culture that learns how to give feedback. So let your culture, leader, I'm talking to you, let your culture be that one where mistakes can happen and people can learn from their mistakes. And people can be given second chances even when they make mistakes. But when we have a culture where it's zero tolerance to error, where you make a mistake, you're out, or you don't get promoted because you make mistakes, then you're growing employees that are living a fake life, or they don't want to work with you, or when they become bosses themselves, they don't give other people chances to learn. So we have to be careful. It's okay to say no to people. I'm not saying always say yes. It's okay to say no. Help people build that capacity to accept no. When you hear no, depending on the situation, it can break one's heart. I've heard so many no's in my life, and I think it's one of the things that has made me to be tough. I want something, somebody says no, I start thinking, what other way can I achieve what I want to achieve? If this door is closed, can I try other doors? Or if this is the only door, then maybe I'm going to have to learn another way to say the same thing, to ask differently. Why do they say no? But if you build a culture of people where you have to say yes, or you mean no, maybe you're still going to say no, but you keep saying yes and just pushing them forward, then it's dangerous. So let people have the capacity to hear no. They can be sad, and that's okay. Like when my kids, I say no, they say they're sad, and I'm like, that's okay. If I heard no, I'll be sad too. So you can be sad. And you're like, I'm crying. You can cry, baby. It's okay to cry because I said no. But that doesn't change the answer. It's still going to be no. You have to learn the reason why I said no. I tell them the reason why I said no. And then I let them know that it's part of the growing. The feeling pain because you have not been given what you want, that is good growth. Because in the future, when you hear no, you've developed capacity. So let's teach and help other people to grow those muscles. Maybe you yourself need to grow that muscle where you can hear no and you just know it's part of life. I can speak a little bit about the education system. I had my undergraduate education in Nigeria. So I was born and bred in Nigeria. So schooling up until my undergraduate level was in Nigeria. And one thing our teachers did was to give feedback. They knew how to give feedback. Some of them will give to the extreme, but they'll give you feedback. Then I came to the US and did my master's level program, and I'll be getting A's without feedback. I remember my first paper that I wrote, I got an A. I sent a message to my professor. I'm like, okay, thank you for the grade, but can I get a feedback? Can you tell me what I did right, what I can improve on? And they were like, oh, you did well. Meanwhile, when I submitted that paper, I still felt like, oh, I could do better. So what I'm driving at is, it's not really doing people good if we have a culture where we're not giving feedback. It doesn't help those people that you're training or building up. It's okay to give feedback. Yes, you want to give it respectfully. Yes, you want to be mindful of your language. Yes, you want to be sure that whatever you say is constructive. But not giving feedback, sugarcoating, lying, that's not helping someone develop. It doesn't help them to develop grit. And right now, as a doctoral student and learning to be a professor myself, I've had to do some teaching some students and master's level students and giving feedback. And I could see the resistance, why some people don't like to give feedback. You know, I did have some resistance. And even when you say it in the nicest of ways, it is not guaranteed that people will take it. So, you know, I used all my nice words. I gave all the, okay, let's talk one-on-one. We can do Zoom. Some people are just not ready. But that's not your problem if you're trying to give feedback and someone is not ready to take it. But you do have a responsibility, though, to give it. So if people take it or not is not your responsibility. To say it is your responsibility. You know, like Jesus came on earth and he spoke. He told people about the kingdom of God. He healed. He did many things. Not everybody accepted what he said, but he knew his responsibility was to give it because he knew a generation needed that truth to grow. So he's not going to withhold it. A lot of prophets in the Bible, God will send them, go do this, go say this, and many people will not even listen. You know, and I can imagine how those prophets felt like, God, did you really ask us to say this? Because these people are not listening. It's not your job to decide if they're going to listen. Your job is to say it. And I know in my personal life, there are many times that I felt like that. Like, okay, God, you truly are sending me to do this, to do that. And I have this desire that is not quenched, that is not stopping. Oh, why can't I get more people to listen? And he's like, but your job though, Tolu, the job description I gave you is to speak. That's all. You speak. So let's think about our lives and what we're doing and what our role is. Are you one who does not like feedback? Or are you one who has been put in a leadership role who should be giving feedback, but you're shying away from it because you don't want to be rejected?